Alex's dark secret. Alex had always been close to his younger brother, Daniel. Despite their differences, they grew up inseparable. But over time, Daniel began to distance himself. He spent hours locked in his room, immersed in his computer, and his personality started to change. He became more reserved, more aggressive, and avoided long conversations with the family. One day, while using Daniel's computer to look for a file, Alex found something strange, a shortcut to a Discord server with an unusual name. Curiosity got the best of him. He clicked the link and entered the server without anyone noticing. What he saw left him in shock. The server wasn't just a simple group of friends. It was a dark space filled with extremist messages, gore, discussions about violence, and talk of planned attacks. Among the members, Daniel was one of the most active. He participated in the conversations and seemed to be involved in something much bigger than Alex could have ever imagined. But one thing stood out more than anything else: a recent discussion about a possible attack on someone. In the chat logs, Daniel talked about an easy target and mentioned concerning details about schedules, routes, and a possible date for the attack. Alex felt his blood turn cold. His brother was involved in this. He tried not to panic. He closed the computer and acted as if nothing had happened. But inside, his mind was racing. What should he do? Confront Daniel? Tell their parents? Call the police? That night, Daniel seemed more tense than usual. His eyes scanned the house strangely, as if he was analyzing something. During dinner, he was silent for a while, before suddenly saying something unsettling. "I think someone has been messing with my computer." Alex's heart pounded. He tried to stay calm. "Why? Any problem?" he asked, feigning disinterest. Daniel narrowed his eyes. "Maybe. It could just be paranoia. But I would know if someone was trying to get into my business." The atmosphere at the table grew heavy. Their parents, unaware of what was happening, kept talking about trivial things. But Alex knew that Daniel was suspicious. In the following days, Alex noticed subtle changes in his brother's behavior. Daniel locked his room more often, left the house at odd hours, and on some nights, stayed up late, whispering into his microphone. He was nervous, restless, as if he were waiting for something to happen. Fear consumed Alex. He knew that if he waited too long, it could be too late. So he made a decision. He called the police. He provided all the information he had, including screenshots of the conversations and details about the server. The response was quick. The next day, undercover agents began monitoring the house and Daniel's movements. The critical moment arrived a night later. It was around 2 a.m. when Alex heard noises coming from his brother's room. Curious and apprehensive, he peeked through the door's crack. Daniel was at his computer, typing frantically. His breathing was heavy, and he looked extremely agitated. Suddenly, he stopped, staring at the screen. A deadly silence filled the room. Then he muttered to himself, "Damn it, someone snitched." Alex slowly backed away, trying not to make a sound. He knew his brother was about to figure out the truth. And if Daniel suspected him, what if he decided to act before it was too late? Before he could process his own thoughts, a loud bang echoed through the house. The police stormed in. Daniel was caught off guard. He tried to run, but the agents quickly restrained him. The shouts woke up Alex's parents, who rushed into the hallway, completely unaware of what was happening. The scene was chaotic. The police searched the room and found enough evidence to incriminate him: computers, chat logs, and even a detailed plan of an attack. Alex watched in silence, his heart pounding. Daniel, handcuffed and being taken away by the police, looked directly at him. His eyes were full of rage. "It was you," he whispered, a mix of shock and fury in his voice. Alex didn't respond. He just watched as the police car drove his brother away, feeling a crushing weight on his chest. He had done the right thing, but he knew that from that moment on, nothing would ever be the same again. Laura's dark secret. The house was eerily silent when Miguel arrived home from work that night. Normally, his dog, Max, a golden retriever full of energy, would run to the door to greet him with jumps and happy barks. But this time, nothing. "Max," he called, expecting to hear the familiar sound of paws on the wooden floor. Nothing. He frowned and set his briefcase on the table. Maybe Max was sleeping in the backyard. He walked to the back door, but the dog wasn't there. A chill ran down his spine. Something was wrong. That's when he saw Laura, his wife, sitting on the living room couch with her arms crossed and a vacant expression. "Have you seen Max?" he asked, trying to hide the concern in his voice. She took a moment to respond. "I have." Miguel waited for her to continue, but all he got was silence. "And where is he?" he insisted. Laura sighed and slowly stood up. Her eyes met his, with a coldness he had never seen before. "He's not coming back." Miguel's heart stopped for a moment. "What do you mean he's not coming back? What happened to him?" Laura looked away. Her tone was indifferent, almost bored. "I killed him." Miguel felt the ground vanish beneath his feet. For a moment he thought he hadn't heard her correctly. "What? You heard me. I killed that filthy dog." Miguel's mind spun. He looked around, expecting this to be some kind of cruel joke, a provocation, anything. But her expression was serious. "Why?" His voice came out shaky, a mix of shock and anger. Laura rolled her eyes, as if explaining something obvious. "I couldn't stand him anymore. Those annoying barks, that dog smell, his paws dirtying the house. I told you several times that I wanted to get rid of him. You didn't listen. So I solved the problem." Miguel's stomach turned. He felt a lump in his throat. "Where is he?" Laura smirked. "In the lake." Miguel didn't wait another second. He ran out the front door, his heart pounding in his chest. The lake was only a few minutes away, an isolated area where Max loved to play. He ran, stumbling in the darkness, ignoring the branches that scratched his arms. When he reached the shore, his worst fear was confirmed. There, floating in the dark water, was Max's body. Miguel fell to his knees. A wave of pain and rage consumed him. He pulled the dog out of the water and held him, feeling the cold weight of the lifeless body. Hot tears streamed down his face. He stayed there for a few minutes until a sound behind him made him turn around. Laura was standing there, watching. "You're making a ridiculous scene. It was just a dog." Miguel slowly stood up. His fists were clenched, his body trembling. He looked at the woman he loved and realized he didn't know her at all. Or maybe he never really had. "You're sick," she shrugged. "Maybe." A deadly silence spread between them. Then Miguel took a deep breath, pulled his phone from his pocket, and dialed a number. "What are you doing?" Laura asked, her voice carrying a hint of irritation. Miguel looked at her, his eyes burning with hatred. "Calling the police." This time, Laura seemed surprised. "You wouldn't do that." "You killed my dog. You have no soul." Her cold demeanor began to crack. For the first time, Miguel saw something different in her eyes, something that looked like fear. "It was just a dog," she repeated, but her voice wavered. He was my best friend." The next few minutes were a blur. The police arrived faster than Laura had expected. She tried to argue, tried to minimize what she had done, but the evidence was undeniable. As she was being taken away, she gave Miguel one last look. "You never really loved me. You always loved that dog more." Miguel didn't respond. He just watched as she disappeared inside the police car. Silence filled the night once again. He looked at Max one last time, feeling a deep pain. And then for the first time, he realized that the person he had loved the most had been all along a monster hiding right beside him.